We weren't supposed to return armed. That was the agreement. 15 years ago, when Admiral Ria Calderon ordered the Terran fleet to withdraw from the Herakan expanse, the galaxy sighed in relief. Humanity had offered peace, formal, generous, binding. We gave up strategic systems, demilitarized entire sectors, and promised to monitor the region without interference. The deal was simple: they stay peaceful, we stay peaceful. But as Lieutenant Mason Hale watched the incoming transmission flicker across the bridge of the TNS Vengeance, he knew something was terribly wrong. The message wasn't a request, nor a negotiation. It was a broadcast of ruins, human colonies burned to the bedrock, outposts stripped clean, families displaced or erased entirely. The Galactic Dominion had broken the treaty in the most violent way possible. And now the galaxy was about to learn what it meant when humanity responded. Mason turned to Admiral Ria, who was as still as carved stone, her jaw clenched as she watched the footage. This is from Arcadia," she said quietly, voice steady but trembling underneath. Arcadia was her homeworld. The colony that raised her. The place she had fought to protect even when the Council demanded its demilitarization. Mason noticed her hand curl slowly into a fist, small motions, but enough to tell him her decision was already made. But the unusual part? The humor, dark, bitter, human humor, had already begun creeping in, because humans reacted to tragedy in their own bizarre ways. "Of course they attacked the least defended stations," muttered Chief Engineer Liara Reyes, rolling her eyes as she scribbled diagnostics on her wrist pad. "Why go for the bristling fortress when you can punch the baby version of it? Classic coward energy." Mason almost laughed. Even Ria smirked, barely. Humanity had always been strange like that. They coped with horror by mocking the idiots who caused it. "We can't treat this like a normal treaty violation," Mason said finally, voice stronger than he expected. "This was calculated. They waited exactly 15 years. Ria nodded. "Because they believed the rumors. The rumors. The myths. The propaganda spread by alien governments to calm their people after humanity's rapid rise in power. They claimed humans were softening, weakening, becoming complacent, losing the fire that once made alien empires shudder. 15 years of peace had convinced the Galactic Dominion that humans weren't warriors anymore." Liara snorted, pushing her goggles up. "Imagine thinking humanity forgets how to fight. We literally have inventing new ways to explode things in our DNA." Mason exhaled sharply. "Then we're going back?" Ria finally stood, the stars of the expanse shimmering behind her through the panoramic viewport. "No," she said. "We're not going back." She turned, expression sharpening like a blade. "We're reclaiming everything they stole, and making sure they never try this again." Before Mason could respond, a klaxon blared. Proximity alert. The bridge lights dimmed to tactical red as a cluster of unfamiliar signatures appeared on the main display. Not Dominion ships. No, these were scavenger vessels, picking through the wreckage of one of the raised human stations ahead. "Are they laughing?" Liara asked, squinting at the audio intercepts. The officers paused. The scavengers were transmitting. Broadcasting openly. And yes, laughing. Mocking the fallen humans. Celebrating how soft Earth's people had become. How humanity no longer protected their own. Ria's jaw flexed. Her voice lowered to something dangerous. "They think we still abide by the treaty." Mason felt the shift on the bridge, a quiet, electric alignment of shared purpose. Humanity had not returned for diplomacy. They had not returned for justice. They had returned for something deeper, something ancient, something earned. For 15 years, the galaxy had enjoyed peace. Peace humanity gave. Peace humanity respected. Peace humanity protected. But humanity had given peace as a choice, not a weakness. And the Dominion had mistaken the silence for softness. "Mason," Ria said, not taking her eyes off the scavenger ships. "Open a channel." He complied. The bridge speakers hummed as he transmitted on the same frequency the scavengers were using to mock the fallen. Ria didn't give a speech. She didn't threaten or explain or demand surrender. Humanity didn't do monologues, not for scum who laughed at the dead. She simply said, "Peace was a gift. You refused it." Then she nodded at Mason. Fire! The Vengeance roared to life with a fury the galaxy hadn't witnessed in 15 long years. Rail batteries, missile pods, pulse cannons, every dormant weapon system awakened in perfect, brutal synchrony. Mason watched the battlefield bloom with incandescent fire as scavenger ships disintegrated into molten debris. Silence followed. A heavy, reverent silence. Liara breathed out. "Well, I guess the treaty's officially over." Rhea stood tall, unflinching. "No. The treaty ended the moment they touched Arcadia." Mason looked at the stars ahead, the Heracon expanse, wide and waiting. For years, it had been a corridor of peace. Now it was a corridor of war. "Set course for Dominion territory," Rhea ordered. "Maximum burn." The Vengeance turned, engines flaring like a waking giant. 15 years ago, humanity offered peace. Now humanity was coming back. And they were done being merciful. The Dominion still hadn't realized the scale of their mistake. Sensors across the expanse lit up with chatter, confused, frantic, scrambling. Scavenger fleets had gone dark. A human warship, long assumed dismantled or mothballed, had ignited the void with weapons no one believed humanity still possessed. The galaxy thought humans had retired their war machines. They thought Earth preferred diplomacy now. They thought humans had traded steel for softness. But humans never forgot. As the TNS Vengeance streaked through the starfields toward Dominion territory, Mason felt his pulse rising. Not with fear, no, that had burned out the moment he saw the ruins of the Arcadia colony. What surged through him now was purpose. Precision. A clarity he hadn't felt in years. Liara Reyes stormed onto the bridge, face smudged with engine grease, waving a datapad like a lunatic. "Update! Good news! I can give us 30% more power to the forward shields. Bad news! It may also cause the lights to flicker, gravity to hiccup, and possibly launch random coffee mugs across the ship." Mason blinked. "That sounds unsafe." Liara grinned. "War isn't safe." Even Rhea cracked a tiny smile. "Approve the modification. I'd rather dodge coffee mugs than ion torpedoes." Liara saluted with exaggerated flourish and vanished back into the engineering deck, muttering something about duct tape being humanity's real superweapon. The unusual humor of the moment felt like a shield against the gathering storm. But no one on the Vengeance forgot what waited ahead. Dominion space. Their fleets. Their arrogance. Rhea stood at the strategic holodable as Mason joined her. A massive projection flickered to life. Dominion strongholds, supply lines, weapons platforms. Each point glowed a sinister red. "They expanded," Mason noted, "into our old sectors. They were planning this for years." "Of course they were." Rhea traced a line with her finger. "They believed we demobilized. That our promise of peace was an admission of weakness." Her voice darkened. "They wanted proof that humanity had gone soft. So they attacked those who couldn't fight back." "And now?" Mason asked. "Now they'll see what humanity looks like when we decide we're done playing nice." Before Mason could respond, the comms panel chirped. An incoming transmission, encrypted, unfamiliar but sophisticated. Rhea's eyebrows lifted. "Interesting. Patch it through." A hologram materialized above the table, revealing a tall, insectoid Dominion emissary with shimmering mandibles and ornate ceremonial armor. He appeared confident. Smug. Entirely unaware of the ash his people were already becoming. "Human envoy," he declared. "You have violated the treaty of the 15-year accord. Withdraw your warship immediately or face." Rhea cut him off with a raised hand. "No." The emissary paused, clearly unprepared for such bluntness. "No, what?" "No," Rhea repeated. "We're not withdrawing. You broke the treaty. You slaughtered unarmed colonists. You attacked Arcadia." Her voice sharpened. "We are here to respond." The emissary's mandibles twitched in amusement. Respond? With one obsolete human vessel? Your species is. He didn't finish. Liara burst onto the bridge again, shouting, Captain? The Dominion has a blockade 20 minutes ahead. And they're charging their main weapons. Good news, I can overcharge our railgun by 200%. Bad news, it may rip a hole in the ship. Rhea didn't hesitate. Do it. Liara smiled, wild and delighted. I love this job. The emissary sputtered, horrified. You intend to engage a Dominion battle group alone? Your people have grown. Careful, Mason warned, stepping forward. You're about to call us weak. And you wouldn't be the first alien to choke on those words. The emissary glared. Humanity had peace. We allowed it. Rhea stepped into the holographic glow, her silhouette sharp as a blade. No, she whispered. We allowed it. The hologram blinked out. The Vengeance dropped from faster-than-light to sublight mere moments before colliding with the Dominion blockade. Mason stared through the viewport as the enemy fleet came into view. A fortress wall of starships. Battleships bristling with weapons. Cruisers forming tight defensive lines. Frigates buzzing like angry hornets. And in the center, a Dominion dreadnought, larger than anything the Vengeance had ever faced alone. Liara's voice crackled over comms. Railgun overcharge ready. If this blows up the ship, I'm haunting all of you. Rhea pointed forward. Mason. Target the dreadnought. He hesitated. If we fire straight through that many ships, it'll send the message the galaxy needs to hear, Rhea said. Humanity didn't return for small battles. We returned to end this. Mason nodded, fingers flying as he locked the weapon. Railgun charged. Firing on your mark. Rhea's gaze hardened. Mark. The Vengeance roared like a beast breaking chains. The railgun thundered, shaking every deck as the hyper-accelerated slug tore through space, cutting a glowing streak toward the blockade. The shot pierced the first cruiser like paper. Then a destroyer. Then another cruiser. Then a shielded battleship. Each impact triggered cascading explosions, turning the center of the Dominion formation into a firestorm of shrapnel and plasma. The slug hit the dreadnought dead center. The shockwave ripped the blockade apart. A corridor, smoldering and wide, opened through the chaos. Liara's triumphant whoop echoed over comms. The ship didn't break. Probably. The Dominion fleet reeled. And humanity advanced. The shockwave still rippled across the shattered blockade when the Dominion finally understood humanity hadn't come back to negotiate. They'd come back to finish what the Dominion started. The dreadnought's carcass drifted in molten fragments, scattering across the void like dead embers. Where there had once been a wall of ships, now there was only silence, terrified, rattled silence. The TNS Vengeance surged forward into the corridor carved by its impossible shot. The ship hummed under the strain, metal groaning as systems pushed far beyond their intended limits. Mason sat rigid at his console, hard hammering, eyes scanning wildly for the next threat. It didn't take long. New signatures flickered onto the tactical map, bigger, faster, armed to the fangs. Dominion reinforcements. Not a blockade, not border patrols, this was their elite strike fleet. Warborne ships. The kind built only when the Dominion was preparing for full-scale annihilation. Liara crackled over comms. Captain, incoming enemy fire in 30 seconds. Good news, I reinforced the hull plating. Bad news, we're now legally classified as a flying pressure cooker. Mason winced. We're going to burst. Liara. Yep. Try not to sneeze too hard. Rhea didn't smile this time. Not even a smirk. Her eyes were fixed on the oncoming armada, dark, sleek ships with flickering crimson engines. At their center loomed a supercarrier, its wings bristling with thousands of fighter bays. The Dominion wasn't mocking anymore. They were terrified. And desperate. Mason turned to Rhea. We can't win this head-on. We're not going head-on, Rhea said. We're going through. Through what? That's a small sun of plasma waiting to vaporize us. Rhea stepped closer, lowering her voice. Humanity doesn't survive by fighting smart alone, Mason. Sometimes we win by doing what no one else considers possible, or sane. That was when she tapped a command into the holodeble, bringing up a star map. A thin anomaly line flared near the reinforcements. An unstable wormfold slipstream. Liara gasped into the comms. Rhea! No. No. You're not planning to ride that thing, are you? That's not even a wormhole. That's a cosmic blender. Rhea's eyes gleamed. Which is exactly why they won't expect us to use it. Mason stared. Rhea Calderon, the woman who negotiated the peace treaty, the admiral who preached restraint, was now about to steer a warship through a cosmic meat grinder. But Mason trusted her. He'd always trusted her. Adjusting trajectory, he muttered. God help us. The Dominion fleet opened fire. Thousands of plasma rounds lit the void, converging into a blinding storm. The Vengeance lurched, alarms screaming, shields flaring with desperate brilliance. Metal shrieked as the hull trembled under the assault. Shields down to 40%! Mason shouted. Stick to the course! Rhea barked. The slipstream anomaly swirled ahead, an unstable, boiling rift, twisting in colors that shouldn't exist. It pulsed, snarled, folded in on itself, and spat lightning across the field. The Dominion ships hesitated, unwilling to approach. Humans did not. The Vengeance plunged into the glowing throat of the anomaly. Reality twisted instantly. Mason felt his stomach churn in 8 directions. The bridge warped, folding like a dream crushed by gravity. Colors reversed. Sounds scattered. Every breath tasted like metal and lightning. Mason's vision blurred, filled with impossible angles and shadows that bent backwards. Liara screamed over comms. Oh God, it's turning the ship into spaghetti! Rhea stood like a pillar, gripping the railing as the ship shook violently. Hold together, she commanded, not to the crew, but to the ship itself. You are Terran built. You. Hold. Together. Her voice carried weight. The kind humans used when lifting cars off trapped loved ones. The kind that carved history. Then, for one gut-wrenching moment, the Vengeance split apart. Mason felt it, saw the decks peeling like paper. And then reality snapped back. The ship burst out of the anomaly with a thunderous boom, trailing sparks and shredded energy fields. But it was intact. Bent, dented, cracked, but alive? Ahead of them lay the heart of Dominion territory. Behind them lay the Dominion fleet, scrambling to recalculate, unable to follow. Mason gasped. We made it. Liara wheezed through the comms. My soul left my body 3 times. 3 times. Rhea exhaled slowly. Prepare the next phase. But before she could elaborate, the Dominion transmission channel activated again. The same emissary appeared, this time shaken, mandibles quivering, posture faltering. You entered the Rift of Call? He stammered. No one enters the rift. That is suicide. Funny thing, Rhea replied calmly. Humans aren't great at dying when we're supposed to. The emissary trembled. You will not reach the capital. We have planetary cannons capable of turning your ship into atoms. Then you should have used them 15 years ago, Rhea said. Before you broke our trust. The hologram flickered out. Mason looked at the massive world ahead, Dominion Prime. A fortress planet. A war throne. Protected by orbital rings, cannons, shields thicker than dreadnought hulls, and fleets the size of continents. A single ship couldn't win this. But one ship could end everything. Rhea pointed at the planet. Mason. Set a path into the orbital gap between the defense rings. He froze. That's suicide. Only if they hit us. And they will hit us. Rhea smiled, a sharp, deadly smile. Not if humanity reminds them why they feared us. The Vengeance angled toward the Dominion homeworld. One ship. One purpose. No mercy. The Dominion homeworld filled the bridge viewport like a rising titan, vast continents, glowing cities, and the cold metallic gleam of orbital defense rings that rotated like the closing jaws of a giant trap. Each ring bristled with gun batteries, plasma casters, and supercharged ion lances, all pivoting toward the lone human warship that had carved its way through half their defenses. The TNS Vengeance dove into the gap between the first and second ring, an insane maneuver no Dominion pilot would dare attempt. Metal shrieked as energy beams sliced past the hull, turning the space around them into a storm of molten light. Liara yelled over the comms. "Good news! We're still alive! Bad news! One of the defense lances just shaved off our starboard armor like it was butter!" Mason gripped the controls until his knuckles turned white. "We can't keep this up." "We won't," Rhea said. "Prepare the payload." Every head turned. The payload wasn't a bomb. Not a superweapon. Not something built for destruction. It was worse. It was something humans built when they needed to win wars without firing another shot. Mason swallowed hard. "Are you sure? If we deploy that?" Rhea nodded. "We end this today." The Dominion had spent 15 years believing humans demilitarized, grew soft, lost their edge. They thought humanity forgot how to fight. Humanity hadn't forgotten. They had evolved. The first orbital ring unleashed a barrage that painted the void with fire. The Vengeance spun through it, hull groaning, heat alarms blaring as the shields flickered dangerously. "Shields at 8%! Mason yelled. Liara shouted back. "I'm rerouting life support to shields." "What? You want to breathe or do you want to live?" she snapped. The shield surged back to life as oxygen levels dipped. Mason coughed, chest tightening, but still piloted like a demon, skimming so close to the ring's inner surface he could read the maintenance markings. The Dominion's comms burst open again. The emissary appeared frantic, desperate, fear written across every twitch of his mandibles. "Human ship! Stand down! You cannot win! Our entire capital defense grid is locked onto you. You will be annihilated." Rhea faced the hologram calmly. Too calmly. "We didn't come to win." The emissary froze. Rhea continued. "We came to finish the conversation you thought you ended when you killed our people." He trembled. You call this a conversation? "That's the thing about humans," she said softly. "You had 15 years of peace. You could have built a future. Instead, you built weapons." The emissary stammered. We feared your species would rise again." Rhea's voice darkened. "You were right to fear." The hologram cut as the Vengeance plunged into the shadow of Dominion Prime's final defense ring. The gap tightened. The path narrowed. And the moment arrived. Rhea turned to Mason. "Deploy the payload." Mason entered the command. Deep within the Vengeance, ancient machinery shuddered awake. A hatch opened beneath the ship, releasing a sphere the size of a drop pod, smooth, silver, unarmed. It drifted into the gravity well of Dominion Prime, slowly descending. Liara whispered, "God help them!" Because inside that sphere was a complete data archive of Dominion war crimes, intercepted communications, genocide orders, and internal transmissions proving that peace wasn't broken by accident. It was planned, engineered, celebrated, broadcast for their own people. And now it was being delivered to every screen, every home, every ruling chamber on Dominion Prime. Humanity's final weapon wasn't destruction. It was truth. The Dominion homeworld lit up with chaos as citizens received the broadcast. Mason watched in stunned silence as entire cities erupted, not in flames, but in rebellion. War factories shut down. Troops turned on commanders. Civilians clogged streets demanding the High Council step down. The High Council responded by activating the planetary supercannons, intending to obliterate the Vengeance and bury the truth. But the citizens didn't allow it. Half the cannons powered down. The other half were sabotaged. Rhea watched the chaos unfold with a heavy, quiet intensity. This was never about conquering. It was about making them face what they tried to hide. Liara stared at the screen. "Captain, look!" The Dominion emissary reappeared. But he wasn't standing tall now. His armor was gone. His mandibles drooped. Behind him, the glow of fire and riots illuminated the chamber. He bowed. A deep, trembling bow. Humanity, he whispered, voice shaking. We surrender. End this. End us if you must. But please stop the collapse. Rhea stepped forward. We're not here to kill you. The emissary blinked. Then why did you return? Rhea looked past him, at Dominion Prime, a world tearing itself apart. To give you the chance to choose peace for real this time. The emissary lowered his head. We accept. The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Mason let out a long, shaking breath. It's over. No, Rhea said softly. It's beginning. Liara leaned back, exhausted, triumphant. Does this mean we're finally going home? Rhea smiled. For the first time, truly smiled. Yes. And this time? They're not giving us peace. She looked out at the stars. We earned it.